Okay, first let's listen to the arguments.
Excited to see how much we could cram into the cargo base of the cat. This session occurred before a pretty heavy-handed nerf to all weapon and component selling prices. In the current up-to-date patch, stripping and selling weapons is kind of redundant due to extremely low profits. But I wanted to show how exciting and fun this feature was before that change.
Okay, so I think it's not. Here's the problem, okay? There's two problems to this. The first one is that players appear to have this reflex that if something isn't fun in the game, then they ask the developers to give them more credits. That masks an underlying issue in the game. And the second argument is that Salvage shouldn't be a steady job, it should be an adventure. But let me focus on the first point, that about credits payment. If we, for example, as she said in the video, that it was fun while it was profitable. I think that's a fundamental flaw. There's a fundamental flaw in that logic, because in this game, almost nothing is currently fun. Because most gameplay systems are not physicalized enough to be fun on their own. And I said it a few times in another context on the forum that if you want to check if something is fun, take away the payment and see if players would still engage in doing it. Okay? An ideal test ground for that is, for example, mining and clashing. Okay? So said a few times on the forum that nobody can endure mining in Clasher because they're not getting paid for it, and because the underlying gameplay system just sucks. Just sitting there and mouse wheeling until UI gets different colors doesn't make sense. It's not fun, inherently. I think early in this year, a developer actually admitted to the fact that he literally said that almost nobody is mining in Clasher, which proves my point. Now, the problem with adjusting a payout in Salvage is that the game should do the opposite, okay? Because for two reasons. The first reason is if players keep asking developers if something is wrong with the game to give them more credits, then developers get used to it, and that's an easy fix for them to fix it by just, okay, give you more credits, so you stop complaining. Problem is that's a short-sighted fix, because eventually you get more money, then you get bored of having that more money, then you ask for more and more money. Then the game runs into a problem of inflation, where players get huge amounts of money, and there's not enough fun backing that money, which means you run out of gameplay activities that are fun because developers don't make them more fun because you just give me more money. So you have this fun inflation, this runaway fun inflation that's going on. And then the developers get used to not actually addressing the underlying gameplay and making it fundamentally more physical, more fun. Okay, so how would you make Salvage fun? Well, there's two ways you can do it, though. Those are two things that need to be done together. The first thing is increase the physicality of it. I think being able to detach components and guns from specific ships, not from all ships, it's relatively fun because it's manual work. You can pull a component off a ship or something and drag it to another place. So it's the entire process of getting a thing, putting it somewhere else physical. So that's a good thing, okay? And the second thing is you need to make the player need what they find. Okay? They need to really feel a sense of emotional high when they get what they want. And you don't get that by just increasing the pay for everything. And another point in the video, she also makes the argument that they made a certain amount of money per hour. I think it was 60,000 per hour per player. And that's also, I think, a bad way to looking at it, because what you should measure your engagement with the game is how much fun did you have in that hour, not how much money you got. Because if money is the only thing that keeps you playing, then the underlying gameplay systems are broken. So I would do the opposite. Decrease the payout and make players depend more for actual survival to salvage and good stuff, which will lead into the second argument of the video. So for example, let's imagine you're a player who has Gatling machine guns and use them a lot in combat, and you think, okay, if I buy it at a shop, it's really expensive to replace that ammo. So it might be worth for me to actually go out, look for salvage targets or ships you killed or found somewhere. Then you collect that ammo from that ship. And how do you make the player be happy for getting that ammo? You can't make him happy because if he can just get the ammo for a few credits by opening a repair menu after landing on a landing pad, there's no value to him. However, if he really cannot afford rearming his gun in the station, and he suddenly, at the other end of the solar system, he finds a wreck and gets enough ammo to get into the next fight, that gives the player much more emotional high than he could get from getting 500,000 credits. Okay, so you make the player need what they find. Which means the other gameplay systems need to decrease the amount of players, the amount of stuff that players get. Because we need to decrease that fabricated emotional high from getting credits and constantly winning and mission complete signs and bars that fill up. Okay, you need to reduce that so the player gets excited over something physical. And now the second part of the video is that salvage shouldn't be a steady job, it should be adventure. Okay, I'm going to show you some pictures. Okay, here's a picture of the vulture. That's, I think, a concept art picture or run art picture. Now, when you look at the picture, what does it evoke for you? What type of emotions do you feel? Now, for me, it's a sense of loneliness. Like, imagine I'm like somewhere in deep space, and I'm trawling through trashed ships, and I spend all day just looking for something good, didn't find anything. Perhaps somewhere in this wreck, find something that might be valuable. Then you put effort in to get that thing, and perhaps you find a really nice component that's going to give you some good money. And you extract it and fly somewhere, and you get this emotional high of having won something difficult. Okay. Now, similar with this reclaimer picture. That's, I think, a concept art picture by George Hull. That's the guy who invented that shit, basically. Again, you have the sense of loneliness. And it doesn't feel like a regular day job. You go there, you get your credits, you get back home. And if you don't get the credits, you complain to somebody to give you more credits. Okay? So, and salvage has to be that adventure. Like something that's basically currently salvage is set up. It's like a theme park ride, okay? So you get the mission, you pay the ticket to get to it, the game spawns a ship for you. You fly to the ship, and you get the stuff you expect. And if you don't get it, you go to the Spectrum forums, you complain, you need to get more payout. And that's not going to fix the problem for you, because credit increasement, it's a fake emotional high that you're getting from it. What instead needs to happen is that you come to these ships, they're completely banged up, and most components you find are completely worn down and have almost no reselling value. And only if you go through the entire ship, you really go through it with a toothbrush, and maybe you find a nice weapon, a nice pulse rifle, automatic rifle somewhere on that table floating in the ship. Or perhaps one of the guns on the ship, or one of the components, a power supply or something, is of really high condition. And that is something you can then sell for high profit. Instead of everything having expected high profit. Okay, so you spend most of the time searching trash, not getting what you want. So when you once get what you want, you get this huge emotional high from it. And you can't get that if every salvage run gives you an expected minimum payout, what you expect, what you feel like you require to even go to do it. It should be an adventure where you know, okay, I'm going to salvage, and I probably examine 10 shipwrecks, and I won't get anything valuable out of it, just some tiny scraps. And perhaps one of those ships is going to have something amazing. And then you get really excited for it. And that's how you manage the happiness of the player in this game. And you cannot do that by just adjusting the credits. So what I would do, instead of asking for more payouts, insist on more depth in the salvage process and decrease the payouts. So it's more like a thing of intermittent rewards. Like you find something nice, and you have to work really hard to get it. And that's how you make salvage fun.